Bosses of Reddit, what is the stupidest thing you have had to fire someone for? This guy always tried to hide at work to avoid working. One day I was looking for him and I stepped into the bathroom. I notice a shoe print on the back of the toilet. And I look up and one of the ceiling tiles is pushed a little to the side. I climb up there. And this mother is hiding in the ceiling. One of my maintenance guys tried to stab a guy over a bag of dirt. Company dirt. Dirt. Worked at a nightclub. One of the workers called in sick. But he was actually going to some party instead. Could you guess where they went after the party? Yes. To our nightclub. Manager at a delivery joint here. We had to let someone go because they decided to deliver pizzas in a stolen car. Well, it's not like you'd wanna put those miles on your personal vehicle. We worked at a place that bought in used cell phones. She bought a cell phone from a guy and his Facebook was still open. She posted as the guy on his Facebook something like, "I'm a big lying idiot." Guy came back to complain. She was fired. Poor girl. She was probably just trying to post on her own Facebook. But she couldn't because she's a big lying idiot. Edit. Oh. Gold. Thank you. One of the lifeguards was really hungover, so he took her in the pool so we didn't have to open up for the day. Now that's a stroke of genius. I was managing a restaurant and did morning cash out. I checked all slips against the information in the computer. I noticed her new hire had really good tip averages the day before when I had been paying her out. The next day I was going through her slips and noticed a discrepancy. Mainly that she had added a 1 in front of each tip and changed the total. How could I tell, you ask? She used different color ink. She was fired and we refunded the money. Seriously. At least use the same color ink. Had a guy get removed by the cops because the night before the IT guy found out he was downloading and hosting child PRN on his work computer. I once worked with a guy who did the same thing. He tried to be smarter. He would download it on other people's computers so that it wouldn't be found on his own hard drive. He got away with it for a little while by working late and switching machines after he was the only person left in the office. But obviously, when the downloads happened, he was the only person left in the office. Asterisk. Once somebody spotted the files on their hard drive, cleverly hidden in C. Windows. Took barely an hour to investigate, pin the guy, and have him arrested and fired. I had to fire this kid from a gas station I worked at after he asked me if I ever poked holes in the condoms with a push pin, as he proceeded to punch holes in condoms. I have no idea how long he was doing it for. He worked there for over a year. Had to fire a girl for sleeping with a client at a homeless shelter. I worked in a fast food kiosk in an amusement park. We had a machine that cooked our burgers and toasted our buns. One of those ones where the food goes through on a conveyor belt. One day, it was raining. While walking to the kiosk, a girl got wet. So, logically, she took her clothes off and put them through the machine so the heat could dry them. Her shirt caught on fire and set the kitchen sprinklers off. Her shoe forced the two toasting plates in the bun section far apart, creating a large repair bill. I worked with a guy who was fired for regularly watching PRN at his desk. They talked to him several times and he just never stopped. Giving him a warning a few times was kind. A couple of co-workers decided to start dealing cocaine at the hospital we worked at, and thought using the internal email system was a good way to keep in touch with customers. Receptionist who forgot to wear pants. I was at a satellite office and had 4 employees call me separately to let me know there were some previous issues. Plus they were pretty sure she was on something. Receptionist at a law firm I worked at didn't get fired. 60-year-old woman. Comes in wearing a nice blazer and slacks. Now, this woman knew style. Aside from this one time she was always dressed impeccably. She wasn't wearing a blouse. She just had a bra on underneath the blazer. And it was definitely noticeable. Craziest part? Wasn't fired. She told me that when she woke up that morning she couldn't find the blouse she normally wore with that outfit and so just didn't wear one. One of my technicians used our remote software to start typing to a girl whose machine he took control of. He opened Notepad, wrote what up and then went to Pornhub. Supervisor gets an email about sexual harassment the same day and he's gone the next morning. Not a boss, but HR. Had a guy on a temporary work comp transitional assignment at a retail store. His regular job had very good pay, a lot of benefits, etc. The moron stole a used scuba suit from his temporary job site. On camera. Bonus. We're well over 1,000 miles from any ocean. I had an employee who was getting drunk on the job. I found him in a hallway. On the floor. Wasted. He told me that he got bad headaches and the only cure was champagne on crushed ice. A PC technician was being pestered with questions from a customer about sales stuff. He lost it and while looking the customer square in the face, the employee had his eyes closed however, said, "Get away from me or I'll eat your face." It took half the day to get over the laughter and WTF of the situation before we could even begin on paperwork. I once worked in a retail store where we all had our own access codes that allowed us to do stuff. And if our code didn't allow us to do it, we weren't supposed to be doing it. On his first day during training he managed to catch the general manager's code as he was typing it in and used it for about a week. Pretty much gave away thousands of dollars of equipment in the manager's name. It was particularly stupid because he did it because he still had his trainee position which required somebody to look over most of what he did if he wanted to give discounts, etc. If he had waited another couple of days he would have been moved up to full staff member and could have given out most of those discounts anyway without anybody noticing or caring. He just couldn't wait to give his friends all the free swag. Guitar Center. I told him to stop getting high before work. I even told him he was a good worker when not high. That I didn't care what he did off the clock. I literally told him that people could smell weed on him. And that he acted like an idiot while high. He apologized. Agreed with me. Even offered up the fact that it was, in fact, affecting his work. Next day. Shows up stoned to the bone. "Sorry, guy. You're fired." I got a great one. My friend and I were both district managers for a vendor company that worked in Home Depot's building displays and merchandising. One day one of the workers was on the store phone talking with one of the owners of the company. Owner hears in the background an in-store page for a manager he knows had been fired a month before. Turns out this guy had made an hour-long recording of the inside sounds of a Home Depot. And would play it on his stereo anytime someone would call him. Fooled everyone for months. My buddy and me drove to his house and parked outside and called him. My friend asked him where he was. And he goes, "I'm at the store." We tell him, "You might want to look out your window." We see his curtain part a little bit and close fast. We told him, "Don't bother coming out. You're fired." Got to give him credit for the balls and ingenuity though. I was the manager of a Papa John's and a lady called and complained about a driver going too fast near her kids. Driver comes back. And I say, "Pat." A lady called. "Try and slow it down a bit." He goes postal in front of a packed audience of pickup customers. "You. Man. Whose side you on?" "Not mad. Pat. Just be careful." "Nah. You lying." "Pat dude. Not mad. Just be careful. Ah. No. That. You and I need to go outside. Calm down. Dude. Not mad lad yak. Don't worry. Comma. You. FLPPPBBT babble mibble babble. We're done. Man. Go home. Most awkward pizza firing aside from when this dude tried to kill me when I worked on the coast. Pat S a nurse now. This actually just happened. Our supplier came out onto my construction site and cooked everyone a free Barbie. This one bloke had a meltdown and almost had a fight with the chef. Their conversation started off like this. Guy. Where's the butter? Chef. Ain't got no butter mate. Guy. What kind of Barbie is this without any butter? Chef. A free one. If you don't like it, don't have it. Then the guy blew up yelling at the chef for making smart-ass comments and swearing his head off. While the chef thought nothing of it and remained really calm and telling the guy to take it easy. Our site does not tolerate this kind of behavior. Needless to say, we kicked the guy off site ASAP. Lost a job over a free Barbie and butter lol. Edit. Turns out there was butter in the fridge. This is the most Australian thing I have ever read. In high school, a guy I knew stole a giant Ronald McDonald made of Legos from the McDonald's he worked at. It was one of those guess the number of pieces contests. He got away with it. But later on he was busted for stealing boxes of hash brown wrappers with Monopoly game pieces on them. Cops show up at his place to arrest him over the hash browns. Lo and behold, there sits Ronald in the middle of his room. A concessions attendant gave a pot brownie to my 75-year-old door person at my movie theater. She didn't press charges, but he had to go. No paperwork on it either. I had him resign. Edit. This story clearly struck a chord with a lot of people. I will try to answer as many questions as possible. She, the door person, didn't know what was wrong. A friend of hers visited that evening and figured it out. She told me the next day. I was off the day it happened. He, concessions, didn't deny anything. Employee wrote asshole on the bottom of a customer's oil filter. Customer decided to change his oil one day. Something. Fired. Edit. At the time, employees were required to sign their initials for upper bay and lower bay with the date. The upper bay tech signed JJ. And the lower bay tech was as. JJ was editors that day and finished the lower bay's initials with Shoal beside it and handed it to him to install. Customer found it a month later doing his own oil change and brought the filter. Employee admitted it and was terminated from above. Still friends to this day, and he is now a teacher. Actually thought what he did was 100% okay. Completely disconnected from what could have happened. Actually asked for his job back a few times. Years later he apologized after going to rehab. I'm pretty sure the guy still smokes. Just a guess. I haven't spoken to either of them in ages. The theater was in Northern California. That's as close as I want to identify it. This was a long time ago and we worked it out with every party's agreement. I'm happy and I'm fairly certain that they are too. Forgot cheese on cheese pizza. Twice. High as an astronaut fart. I guarantee it. I once tried to make pizza in college. After the timer buzzed off, I found that I had just cooked an empty rack for 20 some minutes. Years ago we had a guy get caught selling PRN off a website hosted from his government computer. This was back in the days when the network security was extremely lax. The only reason this guy got caught was because he took his computer into IT and asked them to clean it up because it was running slow. We've also had guys get caught for stealing controlled items and selling them on the local Craigslist without even bothering to remove any of the identifying marks. Personal hygiene. You'd think people would have the common courtesy to shower before working with others. That person smelled like pure BO with sprinkled on top. Putting a customer's info in the system as first name, don't care, last name, smells like, well, did. Had an employee get caught rolling 20 blunts in the produce cooler. He did offer to share. Another incident, all of lobsters kept dying off several times. Several thousands of dollars worth of lobsters even after cleaning the tank a couple of times in case there were some lobster hating germs in there. Turns out, one of the overnight floor cleaners was staging gladiatorial lobster battles. Unfortunately, he forgot to wash his hands that were covered in floor cleaning chemicals. Did not bode well for Spartacus and his armored brethren. Reports poorly photoshopped her photo from Facebook onto the vile anti-abortion posters. Saved the JPG files to his network share. Printed them on corporate printers using his private printing code. Then hung them up in over 20 corporate break rooms before everyone got into the office on security camera. He even went into other tenant offices that shared the same building. I'll stop a lot of rolling downhill. But there's no way I'm stepping in the midst of that rolling down. I worked with a guy who got fired for buying PRN on eBay all day at work. I thought this was pretty out there until I saw the other PRN at work stories here. But still, I think this takes the cake because he was internet savvy and still paying for second-hand PRN DVDs. That's varsity level work PRN stupid. Bar manager here. Had to sack another bartender for showing up morbidly drunk. I mean absolutely faced. Cross-eyed aired. I'm not a totally cold-hearted bastard. Strange happens in this line of work. But the icing on the cake was when he pulled out his dick and started waving it at the regulars at the bar. I tried to stop him and he took a swing at me. Missed. And fell over. Passed out. I spoke to him a couple days later. He didn't remember a thing. It's become great barroom lore at work. Remember the time Jimmy pulled out his dick? Ha ha ha. You should have seen the look on your face. Ha ha ha. One of the security guys at my company was caught masturbating to PRN. During the day. At the main reception desk. By a female PA. When we had his exit interview. We asked him why he did it. And he just said he felt really comfortable at work. And got carried away while browsing Reddit. He'd been with the company for years. The best part was a colleague of mine who came back from vacation a week later and asked what happened to Ron. Someone said he was fired and immediately the guy said, oh what? Did he get caught jerking off? But he didn't even know. He just got the vibe that Ron would be the type to jerk it at work. I wonder if he browses as. Worked at KFC. Guy got fired for doing cocaine at work. In the office. Where there are cameras. In hindsight. Probably should have seen it coming. He showed up to the interview with shirt with the Wheel of Fortune board on it. Said GFCKYRSLF and underneath that, would you like to buy a vowel? Yes, that was his nicest shirt. Dot. Also, I once saw him eat ice out of a bucket that had raw standing chicken water. Kind of speaks volumes of KFC that he even got hired. PRN. You work for a federal agency. Everything you do on a computer is watched. Why are you looking at PRN? We even gave him 3 strikes. I had a manager steal a bag that a customer had left on the counter. He completely denied it too. And I believed him. But the customer was sure he left it there. And asked to see the video. I hadn't seen anything odd. So I showed it to him. He pointed out the bag. Which we watched until the manager of 10 plus years took the bag and left. Idiot. Had an employee show every other employee and every customer his really big pocket knife. He always follows his big reveal with a smug. Largest one allowed by law. Full stop. After being repeatedly told to knock it off, we worked at help desk for crying out loud. I had to can him. Guy who worked in the mailroom figured he could score a new laptop by ordering one in the CEO's name and forging a purchase order. Someone busted him before the laptop even arrived. Reading this thread. One of my salesmen had a customer stop during a test drive so he could buy some crack. On the upside, he did offer to share it with them. I was put in as manager for a week while the real boss was out for business. Within the first hour of being put in charge, the first real day. This is a kitchen, mind you. One of my co-workers decided to stir it in the walk-in fridge. Really? Who the does that? Had an employee call in sick a few busy retail Saturdays in a row. The pattern got me a bit suspicious. But I had no proof until a co-worker, who wasn't all too happy working up front short-handed again, came into my office, cell phone in hand, to show me selfie photos that the sick employee had just posted to Facebook of her sunbathing. Plot twist. She was suffering from vitamin D deficiency. I was an editor on my college's student daily newspaper. We had a photography staff that would photograph events, sports games, etc. But they'd also sometimes have to do stupid stock photo type things for feature or trend articles. Think like a photo of someone filling out a college application for a story on college admissions. Or something. Close bracket. Anyway. We had two photographers who were apparently in a group of friends that had formed some kind of snake cult. Probably had another name that they used. But we called it the snake cult when we found out about it. Close bracket. The way we found out about it was that we started noticing this weird symbol in the background of some of our feature article photographs, on a post-it note in the background of a shot of some library books. Or in the shape of the food in a photo of some dining hall food for an article about meal plans. Once we discovered it, we looked back and saw it had been going on for months. So yeah. We had to fire some photogs for slipping cult symbols into our student paper on a regular basis. Guy told everyone on the break room how the boss's daughter wanted his dick and the next day came to work and overdosed. I'm the daughter and didn't want his dick. Parking in the fenced-in lot, chain link fence. Along the street, he was smoking weed in his car and having sex with his girlfriend, and the cops decided to investigate since they knew it was after hours and should be empty. He could have driven 20 feet more and been behind a building. I used to manage a hotel. You would not believe the amount of female employees I had to constantly remind it was against company policy to have sex with the guests. One woman, she was about 20 years old, who I had to remind this of several times, was caught mid-act having sex with a guy that was about 65 and looked like Santa Claus. After she was fired, one of her co-workers told me that this woman had a Santa Claus fetish and thought she'd never get the opportunity to act on it, so it was worth possibly getting caught and fired. Girl was pretty decent looking too. I must be going to the wrong hotels. In my imagination, I combine all of these stories to be about the same guy and all his misadventures at different businesses. He really likes PRN. One, because I sent him out on a job that would only take 2-3 hours to complete. Before he left, he mentioned to the receptionist that he was going to make it last all day. She mentioned it to me. And sure enough, he returned over 8 hours later. Being dishonest with a client's money is not something I was going to tolerate. Wasn't the boss sorry, but a co-worker at the gas station job I had in high school got fired for just pulling scratch-off lottery tickets off the roll and scratching them off right on the counter, directly in front of the security cameras we all knew about. I'm not a boss, but a guy at a former job got fired because he broke a light fixture when he was eyeing around with a mop. The manager on duty, who admittedly was a little insane, whipped his head around and in the most terrifying voice said, "Sweep that up. Then get the out." In the interview, he was told he would have to take a drug test if he was hired. He was hired. He failed the drug test. When I brought him in and told him that he failed, he said, "Yeah, I knew I would." Then why? I'm sure it's not unusual, but still, why bother? He quit another job to take one that he knew he would lose immediately. Why? The other job, by the way, was janitor in a high school, which I assume he went back to. Depends on the type of drug test used. In many cases, people do not actually stop taking drugs for the tests. They simply use methods. There are even commercial products available to either flush it out of your system or hide it. They take the chance. But most already anticipate failing. The chance of passing is just a bonus.